hunting for big toothfish on a modern boat journey to catch 100-ton toothfish in the Atlantic Ocean. Imagine the edge of the world, endless sheets of ice stretching across the horizon, winds so cold they cut through layers of clothing, and waves rising like walls of liquid steel. This is the environment where fishermen set sail to hunt one of the ocean's most mysterious treasures, the toothfish often called the white gold of the sea. Unlike schooling fish that travel in massive groups, toothfish live scattered in the deep, pitch-black waters, often more than 1,000 meters below the surface. To find them, crews must venture farther south than almost any other fishery, navigating Antarctic waters that are among the most hostile places on Earth. Preparation for such a voyage is meticulous. Before a single line touches the water, the crew loads thousands of liters of fuel, months' worth of food replacement parts for engines, miles of fishing line and heavy hooks baited to tempt the giants of the deep. Every sailor knows once the ship leaves port, there is no turning back for forgotten supplies. Life becomes confined to a steel vessel braving storms, icebergs, and uncertainty. Out here, discipline and teamwork mean survival. Crews work in shifts around the clock. Some monitor sonar and positioning systems. Others maintain the engines deep in the bowels of the ship. The rest stand ready on deck, prepared to face the brutal winds as they set the long lines that stretch for kilometers beneath the sea. But even with modern navigation and radar, the ocean never surrenders its secrets easily. Fishermen might deploy thousands of hooks and haul them back hours later, only to find seaweed crabs or nothing at all. On other days, a single toothfish on the line can weigh over 100 kilograms, its pale body gleaming as it breaks the surface. In those moments, exhaustion vanishes, replaced by adrenaline and determination. The journey for toothfish is more than just fishing. It's an expedition into nature's extremes, a test of human endurance against freezing winds, violent seas, and the psychological strain of isolation. For every sailor aboard, this is not simply a job. It's a battle with the elements, fought in pursuit of a rare prize hidden in the depths. Catching toothfish isn't like casting a net for sardines or dropping a trap for crabs. These creatures live far below the reach of ordinary fishing gear, so crews rely on long-line systems that stretch for kilometers across the seabed. A long line is exactly what the name suggests, a massive fishing line armed with thousands of hooks, each carefully baited with squid or fish. These hooks are lowered into the depths by heavy weights designed to reach the dark, icy layers where toothfish dwell. Setting a line is a full-team effort, sailors working side by side in freezing winds, coordinating every movement to avoid tangles, injuries, or wasted hooks. The process begins in near silence, broken only by the roar of the sea and the clank of machinery. Each hook is clipped onto the line, baited with precision, and dropped into the black water. Once the gear sinks beneath the waves, the waiting begins. Hours later, the line is retrieved, and the crew hauls it back meter by meter, never knowing what will emerge from the depths. Sometimes it's disappointment, kelp, small fish, or empty hooks. But on the right day, the line shudders with weight, signaling a massive catch. A single toothfish can tip the scales at over 100 kilograms, and its strength is legendary. Pulling one aboard takes raw muscle coordination and grit. The deck becomes a battleground as men strain against the fish's final fight for freedom. Modern vessels are built to withstand this intensity. They're equipped with sonar and satellite positioning systems, ensuring that lines are dropped in the most promising locations. Onboard refrigeration systems snap-freeze the catch within minutes, preserving the fish's pristine quality for international markets. Every detail from hook design to storage temperature is managed with almost surgical precision. Yet for all the technology, toothfish fishing remains a battle of endurance. Machines assist, but the outcome still depends on human resilient sailors who can withstand sleepless nights biting winds and the constant unpredictability of the ocean. Far from the comfort of land life on a toothfish vessel is a world of its own. Every sailor has a role, and no one is allowed to slack off. The captain stands at the helm, eyes locked on navigation charts and weather forecasts, making decisions that could mean the difference between survival and disaster. Below-deck engineers tend to the heart of the ship, the roaring engines that keep the vessel steady against monstrous waves. On deck, fishermen rotate in shifts. Day blends into night as they work through endless cycles of baiting hooks, hauling lines, and sorting catches. Sleep comes in snatches of an hour or two, often interrupted by alarms or sudden orders to respond to a change in conditions. Fatigue becomes a constant companion, and the icy winds cut deep into bones. Meals on board are simple, but they carry a powerful weight. A steaming pot of stew or a cup of hot tea becomes more than just food. It's morale, a reminder that even in the frozen seas, warmth and comfort still exist. The ship's cook, often overlooked, is in many ways the soul of the vessel, fueling exhausted bodies and lifting weary spirits. Despite the hardships, there is camaraderie. Fishermen share stories from past voyages, laugh over jokes in the mess hall, and support each other through dangerous tasks. This sense of brotherhood, forged in bitter cold and high seas, is what keeps them going when conditions seem unbearable. But danger is never far away. Icebergs loom silently in the dark. Storms rise without warning, and the sheer weight of a single fish can cause injury if a line snaps under tension. Every man on board understands the risks, and yet they face them willingly, drawn by the promise of the catch and the pride of bringing home one of the ocean's rarest treasures. For many, this life is not just a job, but a calling. The ocean tests them daily, stripping away weakness and sharpening their endurance. Out here among the waves and the silence of the Antarctic, survival depends on skill, discipline, and trust in one another. When the ship finally returns to port, the long weeks of danger and exhaustion suddenly transform into a moment of triumph. The toothfish, carefully preserved in deep freeze storage, are unloaded with meticulous care. Each one represents not only a fortune in the global market, but also the sweat, risk, and survival of the crew who battled the Antarctic seas. Toothfish has earned the nickname white gold because of its astonishing market value. In luxury restaurants across Tokyo, New York, Paris, and London, this fish is prized for its delicate texture and buttery flavor. A single fillet can cost more than many entire catches of ordinary species. To diners, it is a delicacy. To fishermen, it is the payoff for weeks of labor in some of the harshest waters on Earth. But this prosperity comes with a shadow. The demand is immense, and with demand comes pressure. Overfishing is a constant concern because toothfish live long lives and reproduce slowly. Their populations are particularly vulnerable to exploitation. That is why strict quotas are enforced by international agencies, and why each vessel must carefully document its catch. Any violation can mean the loss of a license, crippling fines, or even confiscation of the ship. Illegal fishing remains a menace. Rogue vessels, often operating under flags of convenience, slip into protected waters under cover of darkness, hauling out tons of toothfish without regard for sustainability. These ships often avoid regulations, undercut legal fishermen, and threaten the survival of the species. To combat this, naval patrols and satellite tracking systems are deployed, creating a constant cat-and-mouse game across the icy seas. For the fishermen who follow the rules, every toothfish landed is more than just profit. It's proof that discipline, legality, and respect for the environment can still coexist with one of the world's toughest professions. The crew knows that their families, their communities, and future generations depend on the survival of these fisheries. And so the story of Toothfish is not only about supply and demand or about glamorous auctions in city markets. It is about a delicate balance between survival and sustainability, between profit and preservation, between the human drive to conquer and the ocean's demand for respect. Every voyage in search of toothfish is more than just a commercial expedition. It's a chapter in a much larger story, one that intertwines human courage, scientific discovery, and the fragile balance of nature. On board these vessels, science and tradition meet. While fishermen haul in their long lines, biologists often record data: the depth of the hooks, the water temperature, the currents, even the presence of other marine life. Each piece of information is precious, helping to build a clearer picture of the Antarctic ecosystem. This data not only guides future fishing operations, but also shapes international conservation policy. In many ways, fishermen themselves become citizen scientists, their work at sea directly feeding into research that ensures these waters remain alive for future generations. The legacy of toothfish fishing is also cultural. In the port towns of Chile, Argentina, New Zealand, and Australia, entire communities depend on these voyages. Families gather to watch the ships leave, and weeks later, to celebrate their return. Every successful trip, means jobs for dock workers, income for local businesses, and meals for families far beyond the southern hemisphere. The ripple effect of a single catch can stretch across continents from Antarctic seas to Michelin-starred kitchens in Europe and Asia. But beyond economics and science lies something deeper, the human spirit. Fishermen who take on this journey are often described as modern explorers. They face icy winds that can peel the skin storms that tower higher than buildings and the endless darkness of polar nights. And yet, they press on. Why? Because every fish pulled from the depths is proof that humans can adapt, endure, and triumph in places where nature seems determined to push us back. The camaraderie built aboard these ships is also something special. In the middle of the Antarctic Ocean, cut off from the world, the crew becomes a family. They share hardships, they celebrate victories, and they rely on one another with absolute trust. When a giant fish is finally hauled over the rail, the cheer that erupts isn't just about profit, it's about survival, teamwork, and the shared knowledge that they faced the impossible together and won. In the end, toothfish represents much more than a delicacy. It embodies the resilience of coastal communities, the progress of marine science, and the courage of those who dare to sail into Earth's harshest frontier. It is a reminder that while the ocean tests our limits, it also defines our strength. So the next time you see a dish of Patagonian toothfish on a restaurant menu, remember this: behind that single fillet lies weeks of peril, months of preparation, and centuries of tradition. It is a story written not only in the icy waters of the Antarctic, but also in the hearts of the fishermen who risk everything to bring back the white gold of the ocean. And with that, the tale of the toothfish comes full circle, an epic of nature, economy, and endurance that continues to this day.